The twin suns of Kisra Station burned through the metal canopy, turning the market into a furnace of noise and sweat. Voices rose in a dozen languages, traders shouting, children laughing, machines hissing, and the sharp smell of ozone mixing with roasted meat. It was chaos, loud, bright, alive. And Rook Kane moved through it like a shadow. He didn't belong anywhere, and that made him fit everywhere. Former pitcher, failed soldier, now a collector for hire. He slipped between stalls with the calm of a man who'd been running too long. A small coin spun across his knuckles. Click, click. The sound helped him think. His eyes followed the target. Silver hair that caught sunlight, flowing like threads of light. Azure skin that shimmered faintly, not human but close enough to fool a distracted crowd. She moved fast, weaving between vendors, graceful but tense. Rook had chased enough people to know she wasn't scared. She was planning something. He reached for his belt, fingers brushing the cool surface of the foam capsules that could end this quick and clean. Then she turned. Her eyes, bright as liquid metal, met his across the noise of the market. For a heartbeat, everything else stopped. She smiled, but it wasn't a smile, it was a challenge. Before he could move, she was walking straight toward him. Bold, confident, dangerous. Rook felt his muscles tense. He expected a weapon, a blade, a gun. Instead, she pressed something warm into his hands. Hold this, she said softly, her voice strange and musical. For 60 seconds. He looked down. It was an egg, about the size of a football, glowing faintly with a pearl-white shimmer. Warm like fresh bread. He blinked. You're kidding. She wasn't. The market erupted before he could say another word. Red-reach soldiers burst from behind stalls, weapons raised, shouting orders. Civilians screamed and dove for cover as plasma bolts ripped the air. Rook's body moved before his brain did. 10 years of instinct. He threw a foam capsule high. It exploded against a control box, sparks flying. The market's heavy canopy groaned and collapsed, plunging everything into chaos and smoke. He grabbed the woman's wrist and pulled her into motion. Move. She didn't resist. Her long legs matched his stride, fast and sure. Plasma fire followed them, burning holes through metal walls. Rook shielded the egg against his chest, feeling it pulse harder like it could sense the danger. They turned into a maze of shipping containers. Narrow alleys, stacked 40 high, no sunlight, no way out. The woman stopped, breathing steady. Trapped. Working on it, Rook said. He scanned the walls, the angles, the heights. There was always a way. You're not like other bounty hunters, she said quietly. Didn't say I was a hunter. No, she said, stepping closer. You're something else. Before he could answer, a rumble echoed through the alley. His old droid, Bud, 73, rolled in on squeaky treads. Rusted body, mismatched parts, and a cheerful voice that never fit the situation. Sir, it said in a perfect British accent. I regret to inform you that violence seems unavoidable. Its arm cannon popped out and fired 3 quick blasts. The pursuing soldiers collapsed in a heap of static and smoke. Rook smirked. Good timing. Thank you, sir, the droid said. Shall we retreat with elegance? Define elegant, Rook replied, already climbing a ladder bolted to a container wall. They climbed fast, Rook awkwardly balancing the egg against his ribs. He couldn't use both hands. Couldn't drop it either. The thing felt alive. When they reached the top, the woman turned, silver hair blowing in the recycled wind. You actually held it, she said, almost amazed. Rook frowned. You told me to. No, she whispered. You chose to. For a moment, everything slowed. The smoke below, the shouts of soldiers, the hum of the station's failing power grid. The egg pulsed softly against his chest, warm and steady. Then the droid's alarm blared. Sir, we are out of time. Rook pulled the woman along the rooftops, jumping gaps between metal stacks. Behind them, soldiers shouted. Above them, drones scanned for heat signatures. As they ran, Rook glanced at her. You got a name? She looked back, mercury eyes flashing. Elry. He nodded. Rook. Nice to meet you. Rook, she said as plasma bolts scorched past them. Hold on to that egg. Your life depends on it. He didn't know why, but he already believed her. The ship graveyard drifted in silence, a floating cemetery of war machines and forgotten dreams. Broken cruisers hung like ghosts, their metal bones glinting in the cold starlight. Inside one of them, Rook Kane sat in the dark, the egg glowing faintly beside him. Its soft rhythm matched his heartbeat. Elri paced the narrow corridor, silver hair catching the dim light. Varric's people are everywhere, she said. He'll burn this station if it means getting the egg back. Rook leaned back against a wall, flipping his coin across his knuckles. Then we don't give him the chance. She stopped pacing. We need new transponder codes. Real ones. Without them, every ship in the sector will track us the moment we move. Rook sighed. I know a place. Of course you do, she said, crossing her arms. But I'm guessing it's not a library. He smiled faintly. More like a nightmare with a scoreboard. A few hours later, their small shuttle drifted into Nexus Mining Station, a giant ring of neon light and dirty steel. At its core was the Gaunt, a zero-gravity arena where fortunes were made and bones were broken. It wasn't a place for heroes. It was a place for gamblers, smugglers, and the desperate. Rook had been all three. The local boss, a Terran named Nino 9 Lives, ruled the Gaunt with charm and cruelty. He loved two things, money and baseball. The kind of baseball that didn't need gravity or rules. The deal was simple, one game, one inning. Win, and he'd give Rook what he needed, clean ship codes, forged by the best slicers in the station. Lose, and he'd sell them both to Varric's hunters. Elri hated the plan. This is insane, she said through the comm, watching from the booth high above the court. She had the egg cradled in Rook's old leather coat, holding it like a heartbeat. Yeah, Rook said, flexing his bad shoulder. But I like my odds when there's something to throw. The Gaunt wasn't a normal arena. It was a spherical cage. No gravity, no direction, no mercy. Players bounced off walls, kicked from floating platforms, used magnetic boots to pivot and strike. The ball glowed neon green, spinning wildly with every hit. When the buzzer sounded, Rook launched from the entry gate, body twisting through the void like he was born there. The ball flew toward him. His hand snapped forward. The old instincts came alive. Perfect curve. Perfect aim. The crowd screamed as it smashed into the scoring zone. Nino grinned from his booth. Still got it, Kane. Rook didn't answer. He saw something else. Movement in the stands. 3 figures in dark armor pretending to be spectators. Red Reach soldiers. Varric's men. He spoke softly into the mic. Elri, we've got company. Her voice came back, calm but tight. How close? Too close. They're not watching the game. They're watching you. Her eyes flicked to the reflection on the glass. The soldiers were climbing toward her booth. She tightened her grip on the egg. Rook made his decision before thinking. He could score one more goal, win clean, walk away rich. Or he could lose and keep her alive. He pushed off a wall and flew across the arena, fast and silent. The crowd roared, thinking it was part of the show. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a real baseball, scuffed and old. He never went anywhere without one. The nearest soldier raised his weapon. Rook threw. The ball hit like a meteor. The man crumpled before he could pull the trigger. The other two froze. Nino's voice thundered through the speakers. Kane, what the hell was that? Rook grabbed a railing and swung toward the booth, calling a timeout. There's no timeout in 0G, Nino shouted. There is, Rook said, pointing toward the panicked crowd and the armed soldiers. When someone's about to die. Security flooded the arena. The soldiers were dragged away kicking. The crowd chanted his name. Nino glared at him through the glass. You didn't win. I didn't lose either, Rook said, flipping his coin. Call it even. Nino stared at him for a long moment, then laughed. You always were trouble. He nodded toward the exit. Your droid's got the codes. Now get out before I change my mind. Rook floated up to the booth. Elri stood waiting, the egg glowing bright in her arms. Her silver eyes met his. You gave up the win, she said quietly. He shrugged. Had a better target. For a second, her lips curved into something that almost looked like a smile. You really are insane. Rook adjusted his cap and nodded. Maybe, but I'm your kind of insane. The egg pulsed once, as if it agreed. The shuttle drifted through black silence, running cold and blind. No transponders, no lights. Just the hum of recycled air and the faint glow coming from the egg nestled between them. Rook Kane stared at it like it might start talking. Warm, alive, steady. The heartbeat of something that wasn't supposed to exist. Elri sat across from him, her knees pulled up, silver hair falling over her shoulders. We can't keep running forever, she said. Varric has eyes in every port. We need protection. Something legal, something permanent. Rook rubbed his tired face. Legal isn't exactly my department. It will be, she replied. There's a place called the Museum of Rights. It's old. Sacred. If we register you there under the Guardian Protocol, it gives you temporary custody of the egg under Solari law. Temporary. Until hatching. He looked at the egg, glowing softly like a captured sunrise. And after that, her mercury eyes met his. After that, whoever's holding it when it hatches becomes family. That word hit harder than plasma fire. Rook had been many things, soldier, smuggler, failure, but never family. The Museum of Rights floated inside a hollowed asteroid, a relic of 100 dying faiths. Its surface gleamed with mirrored domes and holographic carvings that shifted between alien gods and forgotten prayers. Inside, it was quieter than space. They entered through a service dock, Rook wearing a stolen maintenance uniform, Elry in a dull gray jumpsuit that still couldn't hide what she was. Bud, 73, rolled behind them, muttering about cultural vandalism and improper lighting. Keep your head down, Rook whispered. I'm glowing, she whispered back. That's hard to hide. The museum's halls stretched endlessly, marble and metal, history and dust. Holographic guides drifted like ghosts, explaining extinct ceremonies to tourists who didn't care. Rook's pulse quickened. He hated quiet places. They made his thoughts too loud. The song vault was deep inside the core. A giant chamber filled with glowing runes and a single massive stone at its center, the Solari Songstone. It pulsed faintly, like a memory waiting to wake. Elry stared at it with something like reverence. That's it. We need to activate the Guardian Seal. Looks easy, Rook said, scanning the room. Nothing in Solari law is easy, she replied. Laser grids crisscrossed the floor, thin as spider silk, but deadly. Rook studied the pattern, 7 seconds between each sweep. He tested a step. Another. His body remembered precision, the same muscle memory that once threw perfect curves. Follow my lead, he said. They moved together like dancers, weaving through shifting beams, silent except for the faint hum of the stone. Elry's hand brushed his back once, steadying herself. He felt it through the fabric of his suit like a jolt. When they reached the pedestal, he realized the control receptor was 30 meters away, across an open gap with no bridge. Now what? She asked. Rook smiled, that reckless grin she was starting to recognize. I throw things for a living, remember? He reached into his jacket and pulled out his last baseball. Scuffed leather, 108 stitches. The seams felt like home. You're not seriously. He already was. His shoulder rolled once, twice. A breath in, a heartbeat out. Then the throw. The ball spun in a perfect arc, cutting through the air like it knew where it belonged. It struck the receptor dead center. A sharp tone filled the room, and the songstone came alive, glyphs blazing across its surface like flowing light. A voice spoke, deep and mechanical. Guardian registered, Rook Kane. Status, temporary. Rook exhaled. We're in. But before relief could settle, the air changed. Speakers crackled. A voice, smooth, amused, venomous, filled the chamber. Beautiful throw, Kane, said Varric Redhold. Always admired your form. Rook froze. How the hell? The lights shifted red. The laser grid deactivated. Doors sealed. It's a trap, Elry breathed. Varric's voice echoed. You've saved me the trouble of finding you. Security is on the way. Be smart, Rook. Walk away. Leave the egg. Rook's hand found the foam capsule on his belt. I don't do smart. He hurled the capsule at the nearest window. The chemical foam spread instantly, eating through reinforced glass. Alarms screamed as atmosphere vented. Hold on. Rook grabbed Elry's waist, fired his mag cable, and launched them through the collapsing viewport. Cold vacuum swallowed sound. The museum spun below them like a dying star. Bud 73's voice crackled in his calm, Sir, I took the liberty of stealing us a shuttle. It may explode. Shall I pick you up? Now would be good, Rook gasped. They slammed onto the shuttle deck a heartbeat later, rolling hard. Elry clutched the egg to her chest, breathing fast. The shell pulsed, not with fear, but with awareness. Rook looked at her, then at the stars sliding past the viewport. You said it gives temporary protection, right? She nodded. He smirked. Guess we better make it permanent. The shuttle drifted inside the hollow carcass of a derelict freighter, its engines dark, its hull painted with the scars of old wars. Outside, asteroids tumbled in slow silence. Inside, the air hummed with tension. Rook Kane sat by the viewport, coin rolling over his knuckles. He wasn't looking at the stars. He was watching the reflection of Elri holding the egg. Its glow washed her face in soft gold, like she carried a tiny sun between her hands. "We can't stay here," she said quietly. "Varric's ships are still scanning the sector." "I know," Rook murmured. "Just buying us time to think." "Thinking hasn't helped you much so far." He gave a small grin. "You noticed that, huh?" The silence that followed wasn't cold, just uncertain. They had escaped, but not free. The egg pulsed faster now, almost impatiently. Rook felt it through his ribs whenever it was near, like a heartbeat that wasn't his. Then the flicker came. Every screen on the shuttle blinked, once, twice, and came alive with his face. Rook stared. It was him, sitting in a bar, laughing over a drink. His voice spoke the words that hollowed him out. 50 million credits for the egg, the fake Rook said with a smirk. Another 10 if the alien girl disappears. Elri froze. The egg's glow dimmed. Rook stood, shaking his head. "It's not real." "The timestamp is from yesterday," she said flatly. "When you said you were getting supplies." He took a step forward, hands open. "Elri, listen. That's a deep fake. Varric's good, but not that good." Her eyes flashed, mercury burning silver. "I've heard every lie in this galaxy. Don't make me hear another." He could have argued, shouted, begged. Instead, he did the only thing that felt right. He held out his hands. "Empty." "Don't believe me," he said softly. "Believe it." She stared at him for a long moment, then slowly placed the egg in his palms. The glow flickered once, then steadied, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The silence stretched. "It knows," she whispered. Rook nodded. "Yeah, it knows I'm not that guy." Her shoulders dropped, tension melting into exhaustion. She sat beside him, covering his hands with hers around the egg. "Varric's smart," she said. "He'll use every weakness he can find. Then we don't give him any." A small smile touched her lips. "You already did. You care." Rook looked at her, at the reflection of stars in her eyes. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Guess I do." Later, the silence softened. Elri told him her story in pieces, her voice barely above a whisper. She was 17 when her mother arranged a bond with a core world prince. Politics disguised as destiny. He died before the ceremony, and her family called it fate. She called it freedom. She ran, first for adventure, then for survival. A bounty hunter lover betrayed her for a reward. She laughed bitterly. "You'd think I'd learn." Rook didn't speak. He knew the sound of broken trust too well. When she finished, she looked at him. "Your turn." He sighed. "Once upon a time, I threw a perfect game. Scouts said it would make my career. Last pitch shredded my shoulder. Ended everything." "Why throw it?" she asked. He smiled, sad and small. "Because I wanted something perfect, even for one day." She reached over, tracing the faint scar on his arm. "You got your perfect moment. Maybe you get another." The egg pulsed brighter between them, bathing the cabin in gentle light. For a breath, they just sat there. Two runaways, a broken athlete and an alien mother-to-be, bound by something neither of them planned. Then a beeping cut through the quiet. Bud, 73, rolled in, tread squeaking. "Apologies, sir, madam," it said. "But we have company. For ships entering sensor range. Military signature, Solari." Elri's eyes widened. "No, not Varric's men." "Then who?" Rook asked. She swallowed. "My mother." The comm crackled to life. A voice, older, sharper, regal, filled the air. "This is Matriarch Sereth of House Siler. Daughter, surrender the egg. And the human who defiles our bloodline." Rook exhaled slowly. "Well," he muttered, standing up. "Family reunions always ruin the evening." Elri grabbed his arm. "She won't harm the egg. But me she might." Rook met her eyes. "Then we don't give her the chance." Outside, the Solari flagship filled the viewport like a living mountain of metal and light. Rook's grip tightened around the egg. He wasn't sure what scared him more, the alien fleet or the feeling that he'd already chosen his side. The egg's pulse quickened, as if agreeing. The egg glowed brighter, as if it agreed. The Solari flagship was less a ship and more a floating cathedral of power, a city forged from silver and judgment. Its towers pierced through clouds of stardust, glowing faintly with the blue pulse of energy veins that ran like lifeblood through the hall. Every corridor hummed with silence, the kind that made mortals feel small. Rook Kane felt exactly that as two armored guards escorted him and Elry down the endless glass walkway. The egg, hidden beneath his coat, beat against his ribs like a second heart. Each step echoed under the vast chamber's golden light. At the far end waited her, matriarch Sereth of House Siler. The woman's presence filled the room before her voice ever did. Her skin shimmered pale blue, her silver robes moving like liquid metal, her eyes sharp enough to cut through planets. "Daughter," she said, and her voice was cold as space. "You bring dishonor." "And a human." Elry's chin lifted. "I bring the heir." Rook stayed silent. He'd faced bounty lords, raiders, even the vacuum of space, but none of it compared to the quiet authority of Elry's mother. The matriarch's gaze landed on him, dissecting him like a lab sample. "You would claim to guard a Solari egg?" Rook met her stare evenly. "I didn't claim anything. I was told to hold it. So I did." "Like a fool," she said sharply. "Maybe," he replied, "but I'm still holding it." For a moment, something flickered behind the matriarch's eyes. Curiosity, perhaps even respect. Then it vanished. "The law is clear," she said, turning to Elry. "First touch determines parenthood. But Varric has already challenged your claim. He has legal proxies, bonded holders, and the timekeeper at the Temple of First Breath. When the egg hatches, if the timing is in his favor, the heir becomes his property, and by extension, mine." Elry's face paled. "He's corrupted the temple's clock?" The matriarch nodded. "Varric has influence even I cannot reach. He will twist the law into a weapon." Rook's jaw tightened. "Then we untwist it." The matriarch arched an eyebrow. "You think you can outplay my son?" "Lady," Rook said, flipping his coin once between his fingers, "I've beaten worse men than him with less than this coin and a bad shoulder." Elry suppressed a grin despite the tension. "Mother, I choose him. Not as a contract. As partner." The matriarch's lips thinned, but she said nothing. Instead, she waved her hand, bringing up a hollow map of orbiting space, fleets converging on a single point. "The Temple of First Breath lies here," she said. "Neutral territory, at least by law. You'll need to reach it before Varric's proxies begin the ceremony. If you miss the start, the outcome is sealed." "Then we better be early," Rook said. Hours later, their stolen shuttle rattled toward the temple orbit. Outside, space was a battlefield waiting for the first move. 3 fleets circled the holy sphere, the matriarch's honor guard, Varric's cartel cruisers, and a dozen mercenary ships pretending to be neutral. 17 ships between us and that temple. Bud, 73 reported cheerfully. "And I must note, our survival chances remain somewhere between unlikely and statistically absurd." Rook smirked. "You always were an optimist." Elry adjusted her ceremonial armor, a fusion of human practicality and Solari tradition. Silver threads ran across the chest like constellations. She tugged at the collar. "Can't breathe in this thing." "You look fine," Rook said. "Don't say beautiful," she warned. "Wasn't going to," he lied. She smiled anyway. "You're a terrible liar." Bud interrupted. "Approaching neutral zone. All weapons must power down or will be vaporized by the temple's auto-defense grid. Shall I begin the please don't kill us broadcast?" "Do it," Rook said. The shuttle glided into the temple's docking bay, a massive sphere of crystallized atmosphere glowing with runes older than any empire. Priests in silver robes and guards in gold armor stood waiting, flanking the entryway. And at the center stood Varric Redhold, immaculate as ever, dressed in black with red cuffs like bleeding silk. His smile was poison. "Niece," he said to Elry, his voice slick as oil. "You brought my property home." Rook's hand twitched toward his coat, but Elry stopped him with a look. "You'll get nothing, Varric." "On the contrary," Varric purred. "I've already won. The timekeeper has been prepared. The law will side with me, as it always does. Bloodlines are my currency." He turned to Rook, eyes gleaming. "And you? Human, just a placeholder. A momentary convenience. You'll hand me what's mine when it hatches." Rook flipped his coin again, slow and steady. "We'll see who's still standing when it does." Varric's smile didn't falter, but his jaw tightened. "You play games, Mr. Kane. But this one is written in blood and time." Rook pocketed the coin, standing between Elry and her uncle. "Good," he said quietly. "Then I'll play to win." Behind them, The egg pulsed, brighter, stronger, as if it already knew the battle wasn't just about law anymore. It was about belonging. The temple of first breath floated above the dying light of a blue dwarf star, ancient and perfect. Its crystal shell shimmered with the glow of runes older than recorded history, shifting through colors that no human eye was meant to see. Inside, the air felt alive, vibrating with low frequencies, like the universe itself was waiting for a verdict. Rook Kane stood in the ceremonial chamber, one hand on the egg, the other curled loosely around the old coin he always carried. The air smelled of ozone and incense. The crowd of dignitaries, priests, and mercenaries whispered like wind through glass. Every word bounced off the temple walls and came back as echo in judgment. On the far side, Varric Redhold waited. Immaculate as ever, black suit, red cuffs, eyes the color of ambition. The man radiated control. Even the guards around him seemed like part of his shadow. The timekeeper stood behind him, a hovering crystal sphere, humming softly with energy. Rook could feel it, the subtle pull of its rhythm. Too fast. Half a second ahead of natural time. Sabotaged, just as the matriarch warned. Elri stood beside Rook, her silver ceremonial robes catching the blue light. The egg nestled between their palms pulsed stronger than before, its glow syncing with their heartbeats. Around them, the choir of priests began the opening hymn, a song that had been sung for 10,000 years in a dozen forgotten tongues. Varric raised his hand. Let the rite of first holding commence. Rook's stomach twisted. He wasn't a man of religion, or law, or destiny. But right now, the universe didn't care. Elri began to sing. Her voice filled the chamber like liquid light. It wasn't just music, it was memory and sorrow and hope, all braided together. The egg responded instantly, glowing brighter, casting rays across the marble floor. Rook joined in on the third verse, rough and off-key, but it didn't matter. The egg pulsed harder when he sang, recognizing the clumsy human voice that had shielded it through every danger. Varric's lips twitched, irritation breaking through his perfect calm. He whispered something to his aide, who tapped a console linked to the timekeeper. The rhythm shifted again, faster. The egg's cracks began to spider across its shell. Rook saw it too early. 4 verses left. Stop him, he muttered. Bud, 73, hiding in the upper scaffolding, chirped through the calm. Ah, yes, sir. Time for improvisational sabotage, my specialty. The droid dropped from the ceiling like a rusty angel, firing foam nets with uncharacteristic precision. Guards went down in a chorus of curses and static. Chaos exploded in the temple. Priests screamed. Drones hovered away, broadcasting everything live. Varric lunged toward the dais. Seize them. Rook didn't hesitate. He reached into his coat, pulled out his baseball, scuffed leather, faded stitching, history embedded in its seams. He wound up. His bad shoulder screamed, but he didn't care. He threw. The ball struck the timekeeper's crystal core dead center. The sound it made wasn't just shattering glass. It was the collapse of precision, of false time, of Varric's entire plan. The chamber's lights died. Emergency glow bathed everything in red. The egg cracked wider, humming with life. Varric screamed, lunging again, but his foot hit the sticky puddle of Rook's spilled thermos. Sweet earth cola spread across the floor like a trap. He slipped, flailing. Elri laughed through the chaos. You and your ridiculous drinks. Saved your life twice now. Rook shot back, dropping to his knees and shielding the egg as fragments of the shattered timekeeper rained down. The egg pulsed faster, brighter. Then it happened. The world went silent. One heartbeat, one flash of light. The shell burst apart like glass under sunrise, revealing something small, luminous, perfect. Tiny fingers reached out, silver blue skin glimmering with threads of light. The child blinked, eyes like quicksilver, and reached, not for Varric, not for the priests, but for Rook. Rook caught her gently. Warmth spilled up his arms, through his chest, into his lungs. Every breath synced with hers. The temple's runes blazed white. Legal parent confirmed, intoned the surviving ceremonial system. First touch recognized under Solari law. Varric howled, drawing a concealed pistol. If I can't own her, I'll end her. Elri moved before Rook could. Her hidden blade flashed, cutting across his shoulder. The weapon clattered away, spinning across marble. Guards rushed in, But it was too late. Varric slumped to the floor, defeated, muttering something about destiny that no one listened to. Rook stood in the glowing chaos, the newborn humming softly in his arms, her eyes still locked on his. The sound she made wasn't a cry. It was a song, soft and pure. Elry stepped beside him, resting a trembling hand on his. "Congratulations," she whispered, tears breaking her voice. "You just became a father, across 3 galaxies." Rook smiled faintly. "Guess I always had good aim." The child cooed, and the temple, once cold and silent, felt, for the first time in centuries, alive. The war was over, though the stars hadn't noticed. Months had passed since the temple blazed with that impossible light, the moment the galaxy changed its laws because a human wouldn't let go. The recordings of the first holding spread across 3 sectors. For once, the universe stopped to watch something beautiful instead of something burning. And now, far from the silvery temples of the Solari, the desert sun of Earth, Arizona burned bright and unforgiving. The air shimmered over cracked stone and dry grass, carrying the faint cry of hawks. A small sanctuary stood at the edge of the canyon, rebuilt from the bones of an old outpost. It was quiet, dusty, perfect. Rook Kane stood outside, sleeves rolled, holding a tiny child in his arms. She was smaller than he remembered, yet somehow she filled the entire horizon. Her skin shimmered faint blue under the sunlight, her mother's gift, but her hands were his. Strong, steady, built to hold and protect. "Gentle," he said softly, showing her the fragile hawk chick in his palm. "See? You hold it like this. Support the head. Don't squeeze." The child, Sarah, blinked, silver eyes wide with wonder. Her tiny fingers trembled but didn't break the rhythm. The chick chirped, alive and unafraid. From the porch, Elry watched, one hand resting on her rounded belly. The second child kicked lightly beneath her touch. She smiled, that same dangerous, gentle smile that had once stopped him in a market full of gunfire. "You're teaching our daughter to handle predators before she can even walk." Rook grinned without looking back. "Tradition. My dad taught me the same way." "Your father didn't have interstellar law chasing him," she teased. "Neither does she," Rook said, glancing down at Sarah. "Not anymore." The droid, Bud, 73, rolled past, squeaking in protest as Sarah's colorful handprints covered his plating. "Sir, I am not an approved canvas." "She's improving your look," Rook said. "I am art already, sir." "Industrial art," Bud replied, though the droid didn't roll away. Elry's laughter joined the dry wind, and for a moment, even the desert seemed to breathe. Inside the small home, sunlight streamed across the mantel. At its center sat a single object, the shattered eggshell, still faintly glowing. Its patterns pulsed gently, as if remembering. Rook paused in front of it sometimes, wondering how something so fragile could have survived so much. That night, the storms came. Monsoon clouds rolled across the sky like black mountains, lightning flashing between the peaks. Rain hammered against the roof, and the dry earth drank greedily. Inside, Sarah stirred in her cradle. Her eyes opened, glowing faintly in the dark. The same silver light that had once filled the temple of first breath now danced across a wooden room in the middle of nowhere. Rook hummed softly, rocking her in his arms. Not the Solari Nest song. That was Elry's domain, but something older, simpler. "Take me out to the ball game," he sang, voice rough but warm. Elry appeared in the doorway, wearing his old jacket, her hair undone and glowing faintly in the stormlight. She smiled, stepping close. "Earth lullaby?" He nodded. "She likes the rhythm. She's part Solari," Elry whispered, pressing her palm to Sarah's tiny back. "We live by rhythm." The child cooed, her small hand brushing both of theirs. The light in her skin pulsed once, 2 heartbeats, then 3, sinking all at once. For the first time since the temple, Rook felt something deeper than survival. He felt peace. Weeks later, a courier drone from the matriarch arrived. The message shimmered in the air. "To my daughter and the human who broke 1,000 years of law. The council requests Sarah's presence when she is ready. Not as a claim, as an invitation. The galaxy needs to see what trust looks like." Elry looked at Rook. "She means peace." Rook smiled. "Or trouble. They're the same thing when it's us." Outside, thunder rolled again, and Rook stepped out into the rain. Elry joined him, their daughter between them. laughing as drops hit her silver skin and turned to faint sparks of light. He looked at the sky, endless, wild, unbroken. You know, he said, I dropped a lot in my life. But the things that mattered? I held on. Elry took his hand. Then keep holding. Sarah's laughter echoed against the canyon walls, her light reflecting in both their eyes. Above them, hawks circled, guardians of the air, free and fierce. And somewhere beyond the clouds, far past the stars, the old laws of gods and aliens adjusted, ever so slightly, to make room for something new. A family born from a single heartbeat.